Welcome to our eProject Express webinar. Today, our discussion is going to be focusing on modernizing state facilities. Just as a reminder, this webinar will be recorded, and the recorded webinar and slides will be available after the webinar on the eProject Builder help and documentation page in about 2 weeks or so. Next slide. I'd like to introduce our speakers for today. Today, we're going to be joined by Courtney Bonas of the State of California Department of General Services. She's going to be in conversation with Dale Haas, who is an energy savings performance contracting consultant who has been helping us with this webinar series. My name is Dana Robson. I am with Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, and I'm going to be providing an overview of the eProject Express tool. And I'm joined today by my colleague, Catherine Chelminsky, also of Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory. Next slide. I'll hand it over to Catherine to give us an overview of the DOE ESPC campaign.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Dana. Many of you are tuning in today because you are already participating in or have heard about DOE's ESPC campaign. I'd like to briefly introduce this opportunity to those of you interested in learning more about DOE resources to support your performance contracting work. The ESPC campaign is a national initiative to support states, local governments, and other public sector institutions with using ESPC to modernize facilities, improve efficiency and resilience, reduce utility expenses, and achieve lead by example and other organizational goals. DOE works with ESPC campaign partners to implement successful ESPC projects and programs by sharing tools, practical guides, and best practice approaches. In addition to webinars such as this one, the ESPC campaign offers trainings with subject matter experts, peer exchange convenings, and direct technical assistance. The ESPC campaign also helps partners leverage powerful tools like eProject Express to demonstrate the impact of their ESPC projects and programs to their leadership, communities, and other stakeholders. We'll be discussing the impacts and benefits of using ePX today. Organizations interested in learning more about ESPC, those actively implementing projects, and even those with completed projects who are interested in sharing their knowledge with others or amplifying their achievements are all welcome to join. To join or for more information, please visit the ESPC campaign website or contact DOE at the email address listed on the slide below. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Catherine. Now we're going to hand it back to Dale. He's going to give us a quick overview of how ePX can help you with your ESPC.
Yeah, and advance one more time if you would.
Yeah, there's a little animation on that slide.
Go ahead and advance again. Good morning. Good morning, good afternoon, and to my friend in the far west, aloha. It's always good to see folks joining us for this discussion. ePX really fits a very special role in the way it was created specifically to demonstrate energy savings performance contracting successes. And no matter where over the last 3 decades or so you've elected to consider performance contracting, whether it was to solve deferred maintenance or to leverage grant funds, environmental stewardship, or just fix things that were broken you didn't have the money for, ESPC really fits that. And so creating a particular platform designed to be easy, streamlined, and secure only made sense. And we're delighted to be able to talk about eProject Express and how it can help you not only collect information for a project, but consolidate that of a program and actually report back out. So we're just jazzed that you'll have the opportunity to see that today. As part of our presentation today, again, we're just really blessed to have Courtney here to talk a little bit about California Department of General Services. So Courtney, off to you.
Thanks, Dale. Hi, everyone. I'm Courtney Bonas with the State of California Department of General Services, kind of explaining how we implement energy service performance contracts, ESPCs, and then eventually get to the stage of putting that information into eProject Express. But before we talk about that, next slide, I'll just kind of give a high overview of the drivers for the state of California, and the drivers for our Office of Sustainability within the Department of General Services. And as mentioned, you'll receive these slides, so I'm not going to kind of go over all of them, but we definitely have some significant bills that are driving us to get to net zero emissions. I think if you go to the next slide, we have that goal by 2035, which is making these drivers even more important to work on improving and modernizing our fleet of buildings across the state. And so next slide. Department of General Services, our Office of Sustainability, is actually responsible for working with all state agencies to upgrade existing buildings and make them more efficient. But before I go into that, just high level, some of the roles of our Office of Sustainability. And so I'm a project director within our energy savings unit, but we also have a unit responsible for microgrids and putting in solar PV. We also have a unit responsible for electric vehicle charging stations. And then a new service that we're doing is to help agencies enroll in demand response. And so they're all ADR compatible. Next slide. We also help agencies with LEED certification, and then a new kind of offering we're helping out on is so every other year, each agency has to create a roadmap. And so we're working with GLUMAC on a decarbonization study to get to that goal to be to net zero emissions by 2035. So they're helping us write up those roadmaps and really create a plan so we have more of a staged approach to energy retrofits for equipment to work towards decarbonization. Next slide. And so I'm just one of 4 project directors within our energy savings unit. Valerie Kiesler, who's on the call and will potentially help answer some questions, is our manager. And so we typically give this presentation to state agencies to explain to them that we have this free service. You know, we are project directors, we're owners' representatives providing this service for free to help implement energy efficiency programs via energy savings performance contract, since a lot of agencies don't necessarily have money set aside to implement these major energy retrofit programs. So it's a wonderful service, you know, the fact that we have our unit available with the subject matter expertise to provide these services to state agencies. Next slide. Typically, the high-level process to implement a new energy savings performance contract, we have various manners of kind of creating an RFP, but obviously before we do that, we have to really get an understanding of what the building and what the owners actually need. We also have AESC, they're funded by the state, who can help out with doing free energy audits and create recommended measures for clients. And in the next few slides, I'll explain the different kind of financing options we have. And so once we're able to actually issue an RFP, we have an ESCO pool, and then we'll select the ESCO based on, you know, interviews and a proposal in which we look at with both our unit and the client themselves. Next slide. So with this program and with these energy savings performance contracts, we're typically able to save around 20% in energy, which is really exciting. And we're really able to help clients kind of bundle measures and implement meaningful energy conservation measures. Next slide. Okay, so this picture here kind of shows the major state agencies for California. And so to finance these energy savings performance contracts, the state of California agencies can use our low interest GS Smart Loan. Some folks also have, you know, funds set aside for this. The state of California also has a revolving loan fund that we can use for agencies. Of course, there's, you know, on-bill financing, that kind of thing as well, rebates, incentives. So State agencies typically use a blend of these funding mechanisms. But these are kind of the main ways we're able to pay and implement ESPCs. Next slide. So a project that I'm personally working on as a project director is the Caltrans District 1 project. And what's exciting about this one is we have SAM, the State Administration Manual, in which state agencies are expected to do monitoring-based commissioning to kind of track the energy savings associated with projects. So I'm excited we're going to be doing monitoring-based commissioning on this project. And this is also one of our first decarbonization projects in which we're putting in heat pumps, doing away with the need for boilers. So it's a really exciting decarbonization project that we're doing with Caltrans. Next slide. Another kind of typical project, Ellie Hugh Harris, in which another project director was working on. This isn't my project per se, but on this one for funding, they used kind of a combination of funding mechanisms, our GS Smart Loan, on-bill financing, and then cash set aside that you can kind of see here. Typical energy savings associated with our energy savings performance contracts, in which we typically have measures targeting HVAC energy type projects, and also retro commissioning for building management systems. Next slide. And so with our Office of Sustainability, typically we have 1 year M&V associated with projects, but moving forward, we're trying to do more monitoring-based commissioning, where once the consultant does the 1 year annual M&V report, we're able to kind of continue to track the energy savings via monitoring-based commissioning. So it's kind of like a hybrid methodology of doing M&V and BCX, which works well for us, and it's quite cost effective. Next slide. And then the slide just kind of explains more about our service to ensure when we do a new project with a state agency, we explain to them the energy savings and potential money associated with opting into demand response. And we actually have an employee dedicated to just that, to help with that education. He's also creating specifications for thermostats, and really kind of helping to ensure as many buildings as possible are opted into demand response. Next slide. I think that might be it. Yep. Okay. So I think now we're getting into the Q&A portion of the presentation.
Well, Courtney, that really was a high-level, high-speed flyover of what's going on in California DGS for sure. A lot of great information in the slides, and I know we'll be sharing the slides with our audiences, and so that's a very handy resource for them as well to be able to go back to. But a couple of things that I saw that might be helpful for us to just chat about. One of the things that California is, I believe, clearly ahead of the pack on was I noticed that as part of the financing, PG&E offers on-bill financing. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because, wow, in my history, and I've been around this for a long time, it's been one of the things that folks have quested for forever. So tell us about on-bill.
Yeah, that seems really successful, especially with lighting projects, because it's very easy to demonstrate the savings. I love there's also the customized incentive retrofit program, where you can get quite a bit of savings just from retro commissioning and showing that you're simply turning your equipment off. So as long as you're able to benchmark and document the existing conditions of current baseline energy consumption and provide that to the utility before you do any work, you can typically get a great rebate. And Valerie, correct me if I'm mistaken, but yeah, we definitely tend to use on-bill financing for our lighting projects. And then, as everyone knows, rebates are definitely getting slimmed down quite a bit. So we are kind of switching up the rebates that we utilize based on what's available with the state of California.
So that's great. Thank you. Helpful for our audience for sure. As you think about the folks that are in your position, I believe they're directors, right? So
Project director.
all talented, credentialed individuals available that California DGS is providing free to its agencies. So do folks recognize the power of that kind of owner's rep, third-party set of eyes? Is that how you're helping them?
Yeah, and our deputy director actually does kind of road shows to get the word out about it and explain it. We also have our monthly sustainable building working groups state agencies can call into. We've been around our unit for, is it since 2015, I believe. And so it's definitely been a bit of a struggle to both explain this kind of vehicle that we have, energy savings performance contracts, because it's very different from how we implemented projects in the past. And then also, yeah, just to get the word out that we for free will make recommendations and work with you to bundle energy conservation measures. So yeah, we do outreach, and still I wouldn't say everyone necessarily knows of our resource, but we try really hard to let folks know that we are a resource to help put together projects to save energy for existing buildings.
It's really powerful what you do for one. But number two, I want to draw out and ask you a little bit more about the working group calls. When we talked before, it seems to me that that's such a remarkably powerful way to allow folks sort of no risk call in and ask others and ask you all about how things are done. I mean, let's face it, for 200 years, we built stuff the same way, right? If it didn't come from the budget, from the capital budget, you couldn't do it. And so in the last 3 or 4 decades, this new concept's being introduced. And so tell us about the kind of questions that come to the working group environment, if you would.
Yeah, well, yeah, the call is quite powerful too, because we actually invite our 5 IOUs, and we have SMUD, because a lot of our buildings now are in Sacramento, so Sacramento Municipal Utility District representatives call in, and at the end of those calls, they actually inform folks on new rebate opportunities, great new trainings. So I always find that quite valuable, because I, can't keep up to speed on all of the new kind of rebate offerings out there. And we definitely cycle through on the topics for the meetings. We always have with the public utility commissions, new requirements for, EV charging stations, solar PV. So it's a great way for us to stay informed and up to date, since I'd say compared to private sector, we don't go to quite as many conferences, that kind of thing. So it's a great way to really stay informed on innovative methodologies for decarbonization, that kind of thing. So we have a group who selects the presentation topics for each month. And yeah, it's just a really good way to be educated on all things related to sustainability, ask questions, see what contractors they've used, what rebates work well. Yeah, it's a really good platform to exchange information with folks who are all with the state of California.
Yeah, that's great. It's a great concept, great resource for all, I'm sure. So one of the things I found in my history of working with particularly, let's say skeptics, I just find that as a nice word to consider. Those not so self-assured about how ESPC might work for them, they're always looking for, how do I get the proof? Who can show me that this really works? How do I know that this project's really going to pay for itself and do what it said it was supposed to do? How do you share that with folks in California?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole, working with an ESCO and ESPC acronym itself is quite confusing. So it is a process to really explain how ESPCs work and the M&V associated with them. And I mean, I personally, work for an ESCO myself out of college, and so I feel that it took me years to really understand the process. So it is quite a bit of education to kind of explain how ESPCs work and how we're able to ensure that the savings is actually accrued via the measurement and verification. And then, yeah, the M&V, in itself is a complicated topic because of the fact that you have the option A, B, C, D to choose from. And so explaining that is also a process itself. And so in order to ensure we really do have successful projects, I think it's important to ensure folks understand that as project directors understand how these projects work. We've seen success, and as long as we can kind of really get that buy-in and educate building owners on this vehicle, we're going to have a lot more success. And working with state agencies who really understand energy savings performance contracts, it just goes so much smoother. So I can't stress enough the importance it is for us project directors to really kind of explain how these projects work to ensure there's a level of confidence moving forward on these projects, because it is pretty new for a lot of the state agencies we work with.
Sure. And I know an old adage that I've always tried to profess is we all recognize the sophistication of the math that's required, but that doesn't mean it can't be explained to a third grade math teacher. And once it's converted to that, then folks in departments can actually understand it and embrace it. And as that confidence builds, we've all seen the advancement of ESPC and its success.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty cool to see the energy savings really pay for a project. It almost sounds too good to be true. So yeah,
Sure. And there are, we must admit, there are a host of different ways that folks can look at this information and try to digest it and report it and share with others what the impact is.
Yeah.
You've chosen a particular platform. Tell us a little bit about why you picked eProject Express and how you're using it.
I will, but you actually just brought up a good point for me that I hadn't thought of, is that I should actually share the eProject Express results with other state agencies so they can, I haven't actually thought to do that. So that way they can actually kind of get more confidence on savings associated with these common ECMs. So I'm actually going to do that moving forward. That's a great idea. But yes, what I absolutely love about it, I actually have it here open for myself, is the analysis and reporting tool. Our unit typically uses an Excel, workbook. But in addition to that, having eProject Builder, eProject Express, I really like the analysis and reporting capabilities. So we're able to kind of create custom reports, look at the estimated savings or typical payments associated with common energy conservation measures. So I think that portion of eProject Builder is really powerful. Project statistics, that kind of thing, to kind of pull it up and export it in a way that looks a lot cleaner and nicer than our internal Excel workbook that we use.
Yeah. Well, Courtney, it's great to hear you say that. In the time that we were allowed and the professionals that put it together, we recognized that collecting data and having a place to store it's one thing, but knowing how to report it consistently across different projects and different platforms is an amazing tool. So analysis and reporting is truly a key. And having heard you say that and thanking you for your insights into the Department of General Services in California, it really brings us to Dana to, hey, show us a little bit more about ePX, if you would, Dana, and the tools and parts and pieces.
Sure. Thanks so much, Dale. Here's a little overview of eProject Express, again, also called ePX. ePX is designed specifically for state and local governments and educational institutions. It's a streamlined pathway built into the eProject Builder platform, so it's the same database as eProject Builder. It's just a much easier, simplified way to get your data into the platform. The eProject Builder template is several pages, whereas the ePX template is a single page. ePX is a free resource maintained by Berkeley Lab with funding from US Department of Energy. It provides a secure, user-friendly, web-based information and tracking reporting system, which enables program administrators and project owners to track and report project investments, estimated, guaranteed, and achieved savings. You can track jobs and GHG impacts. It standardizes the way ESCOs provide project and MMB summary data, and it saves time by having all of your project information and document files in one place. Next slide. So what are the benefits of ePX for state agencies? Again, it saves time by having all of your information together in one place. It provides accessible on-demand standard and customized reporting so you can report on your project and program achievements in a standardized way. It makes it easy for state agencies to illustrate project successes, retains critical document files, and simplifies ongoing project data management. Even if you have staff turnover, all of your information is going to stay in the same place and be accessible to anyone working on the project. It also alleviates staff workload by making ESCOs responsible for uploading data and documents for review and approval. Next slide. So what are the benefits of ePX to ESCOs? Again, it's streamlined. ePX data entry is only a one-page Excel data entry form. This includes the project data template and the M&V template. Both are simple one-page templates rather than the eProject Builder, much more complicated multi-page template. It saves time, again, by putting all of your vital project documents in one place that can be accessed by the ESCO or by the project owner. It gives owners quick access to those project documents without having to ask the ESCOs to provide that information. And ESCOs can clearly see the information they need to collect and summarize for their customers on the ePX templates. We've had great feedback from ESCOs that they enjoy using ePX. Next slide. So here's a quick overview of the tool. We've talked a bunch about this digital filing cabinet. This is the project document section that is available from your project dashboard, where you can keep all of the files related to your project. You can upload any file type. This is Word documents, JPEGs, PDFs, Excel files, zip files. You can upload anything to this file document section. And again, files can be accessed and added by both the project owner and the ESCO. You can, next slide, click on the file checklist button at the top, and it will bring up a list of the types of documents that you might want to consider storing here. Next page. We have two examples of different reports that can be produced by ePX. On the left is the annual M&V summary. This is a simple one-page report that summarizes key information about your annual M&V results. And on the right side is the cumulative M&V report, which provides a snapshot of how your project has performed year over year, including estimated, guaranteed, and verified annual cost savings. Next page. This is the analysis and reporting feature that Courtney mentioned. You can choose from a set of preset reports in the report library, or you can customize your own reports. You can click on the ePX Fields Only button to show only the fields associated with ePX that are available on the ePX project data template and the M&V template. You can also easily export your results to Excel by clicking on the link at the top of the page. Next slide. We have a lot of other resources available. You can join the ESPC campaign, as Catherine discussed earlier. We have ESPC campaign trainings and webinars available on the ESPC campaign YouTube channel. You can listen to a podcast series on guaranteed energy savings performance contracting, explore the ESPC toolkit, and you can also take an accredited no-cost on-demand performance contrasting National Resource Center training certificate series. This is an 8-module training on ESPC processes, best practices, and roles and responsibilities. Now, I think before we get to the very end, we're going to run a quick poll. Actually, Dale, there's one question in the chat. Or there may be 2 questions in the chat at this point. One question is regarding OR services, where we can find additional information about OR services. And the next question is about the eProject Express link, which we will put in the chat.
Yeah, so if I'm not mistaken, Dana, and correct me if I'm wrong, as part of the resources you just had on screen, the Performance Contracting National Resource Center actually has a guide about owners' reps. It identifies what their roles should be. It was in development for a while, how you might consider selecting one and what they would actually do, what oversight they would have. There's been some interesting concepts exchanged over time about owners' reps. Really, it's a great title, but they should sit in the middle. I mean, they're really trying to help the owner and the ESCO navigate the processes more than redo the math, if you will, for the ESCO. In many cases, owners' reps have the kind of experience that Courtney and her peers do, where they get just a sense of the project being on point or not on point. I mean, let's face it, if somebody says they're going to replace the windows in a historic building and they're going to pay for themselves in 2 years, I, for one, am going to raise my hand and say, that's wrong. I just know that to be true. If, on the other hand, somebody says, I have a lighting project that I want to propose, and I think it's going to take 24 years for it to pay back, likely there's an error that needs to be discovered. And owners' reps learn to have a great set of questions that they can pose to help flesh out that information and discover what the concerns might be. So it's not redoing the engineering or redoing the math as much as it is having a great sense and guide for how to navigate the process overall. PCNRC, great resource for all those kinds of tools.
Thanks, Dale. That's very helpful. All right, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can run the poll. This is just a 2-question quick poll to help get some feedback from you on what types of resources and additional support you would like to see provided in the future, either through this webinar series or other resources that we can provide. Can everyone see the poll?
Yep.
Great. Just give it a couple of minutes. All right, getting a couple of answers now.
And we all encourage you to respond to the poll. It's really helpful to get a sense about what might be standing in your way. There may be something in the back of your mind that you're thinking, gosh, I just don't know. You know, learning a new tool is really hard. Well, it's an Excel format. I mean, it really can't be any simpler. Or I'd love to do that, but I don't see any place to put before and answer pictures of my projects. And we think that's really important for legislators to see 5 years from now. Great. Well, turns out ePX was designed with that in mind. So think broadly on what those concerns might be, and we're looking forward to that information.
That's great. Thanks, Dale. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll.
Weigh in as well while you have the resources slide. These aren't casual resources. For our attendees, if you're in the public sector and you haven't looked at these resources, you're missing a glorious opportunity to have primers and support materials available so that you know where to find them and what they contain. And if you're one of the energy services companies that joins us, you should be quite familiar with that information and what people are seeing and hearing and what the expectations are about how these projects are to be built.
Thanks, Dale. Let's go to the next slide, and we have some other additional resources that I want to point out. Again, we have some upcoming webinars in this series. We will be posting those dates as soon as they are available. Potential future topics include the value of data management, and we are exploring additional topics. We'd love to hear from you if you have other topics that you would like to suggest. We also have a lot of ePX support and training available on our help and documentation page. This includes training guides, on-demand training videos. We have previously recorded webinars. Also available on the help and documentation page now for ESPC campaign partners, we have new color-coded project templates for the project data template and the M&V template. These show ESPC campaign partners the specific fields that the ESP campaign wants to prioritize for data collection. These are color-coded templates that make it really easy to see what the ESPC campaign is prioritizing. We also have a lot of upcoming training materials that will be available shortly within the next 2 to 4 weeks. We have an updated ePX Quick Start Guide and Quick Start M&V Guide. These are quick, short guides that will help you get started using the platform. We also have some more detailed guides on entering legacy data. This is for entering existing projects that are currently in the performance period. These cover both, again, the project data template and the M&V template. We also have an ePX field definitions guide. This is something that users have been asking for, and it is designed to help you be able to determine how you should fill out each and every field on the template. If you have a question about a specific field, this will give you a very clear guide on how to fill that out. We also are launching a mini training video series that will contain several videos, very short, about how to use different aspects of the ePX platform. So all of these resources are either available now or coming soon. Next slide. That's it for me. You can also feel free to reach out if you have technical support questions at epbsupport@lbl.gov. We also have a voice message phone line that you can leave a message. And let me know if you have any other questions. Let's see if there's any other questions in the chat.
Yeah, while we're looking in the chat, we want to make sure that we're inviting you to enter questions there if you have any. A couple of questions for you, Courtney, that I think might help people think this through. One of the things that I've seen in working with 44 of the 50 states is that there's always a question, particularly about state facility managers, if you will. They look at their projects and they say, I don't know. If I invite this ESCO community in, how do I know that they're going to build to my standards? I mean, we've spent 50 years putting together a guide on the qualifications and qualities and the quite right materials to install. How do you guys keep an eye on that process as well?
I think the most successful projects include the facility managers on the development. And so getting buy-in from the facility managers for each building results in the most successful project, because they really know the building better than anyone else, since they've been operating it for the last 20 years or so. So I've noticed on my most successful projects, we include them on the discussion, creating the recommended energy conservation measures. And then when we get to the point of, say, updating the building automation system or the EMS and the way we actually control the equipment, working with the facility manager and the agency who's going to be updating the system to work on the graphics, making sure that it's operable in a way that makes sense to them is also really helpful, because obviously we've all had the issue where you finish a project and then they end up just kind of putting everything in override because that's easier, that kind of thing. So we definitely want to prevent that as much as possible. So we like to kind of work with them to ensure that the user interface is something that they can use to really kind of control the equipment so it makes sense. So yeah, I definitely can't stress that enough, how important it is to include them rather than just, put in this complicated new air to water heat pump and just say goodbye and expect them to understand how to control their building with this innovative new system.
Great point. And you just segued directly into the other key to that. It's not only having them involved, but seeing that the project provides the adequate training and resources for the folks that are responsible for this, and that they understand the theory and application, so they know what the goal is. I mean, this is not, let's let somebody else build in our building and we'll just inherit it and try to figure it out. These are handshake opportunities for the private sector to come in and work alongside your state agency departments and make things work for them, right?
Yep, and we build that in with our ESCOs. That's part of the contract to ensure we do have training, that it's recorded, so that way it's always available as well. Obviously the ESCOs there, for 1 year after the project, but then luckily they have us project directors for the life of the project, I suppose, who can help out. But yeah, training is always a part of all of our projects, an extremely important part of all of our projects. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm just going to offer one other anecdotal thought here, because I've been on the other side of this equation as well. As an ESCO, I was always surprised when the state energy office would call 3 days before they needed a report to the governor and say, the projects that you did this year, I need to know what they achieved, what they included, were they on time, were they under budget? Tell me everything about that project so I can deliver it in a report. And engineers and sales folks alike would be scrambling to try to assemble that information. And it was so impactful to be able to see how that can be rolled into something that's a simple, secure tool like ePX, so that at the end of that period of time, not only can it be aggregated, but it's the same report year after year. So when those supervising authorities or legislators want to see a report, they see one that looked just like it did last year, only it has new and updated data.
Yep, that's one of my favorite offerings of eProject Express. And here, just in the last couple of years, we finally realized that that was a tool we could do to use that, because you're totally right. We get that email or call and they just need this information here in the next 2 days explaining. And so, yeah, we used to kind of scramble quite a bit. And after all that pain, we realized, okay, we need to get all of this information here in one place so that when this happens next year, we're ready. Exactly what you said. So that way it'll look the same every year. I think Jordan Kosai on the call, she's our Climate Corps Fellow. And so every year we have a Climate Corps Fellow who kind of helps us with these tasks. And so I'm sure she recalls kind of the last minute exercise to pull this information together. And then we realized, oh, wait, eProject Express, let's look at that and use that. And so, yeah, it's a great tool, and we're definitely trying to get better about being prepared and leveraging it more and more. So yeah, it's a great tool for that. Absolutely.
Yeah. And the lab and the Department of Energy have really been good partners in this exercise to recognize that while ePX is a little, has a few years of age, legacy projects have been built for years and years and years. And so now there's a bit of a mapping description to say, this is how you get those old projects in here so that you can look at aggregated reports. So always proud to be on the ePX team. Courtney, once again, we thank you. I don't see any other questions. Dana, am I right?
Yeah, I don't see any other questions.
So we certainly want to thank you all for your attendance and patience in joining us. And if you have other questions, reach out. All those resources are available, and we'd love to be able to help you with energy savings performance contracting and using ePX to its full degree.